Everyone, greetings everyone. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, if you are hearing the sound of my voice, just type journey in the chat. Just type journey in the chat. Let me know where you're calling in from as well. If you're seeing the disclaimer, just drop a 441 in the chat. But if you're hearing the sound of my voice, just type journey. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see where you're calling in from as well. I know we have people from all over the world here. All right, we have Southeast London. We've got Trinidad in the building, Rhode Island, St. Lucia. Welcome. We've got the UK. Don't be shy. We have more people on the call. One thing to note is that the UK clocks have changed. I know the US clocks probably haven't changed just yet, but the UK clocks has changed. And as such, we need to be mindful of that on Sunday. When are the US clocks changing? When is the US clocks changing? Is that going to be like next week? Boston is in the building. Welcome. Canada in the building. Welcome. Yes. Is the US clocks changing next week? Question. US clocks changing next week? Anybody? Nobody? Has the US clocks changed already? November the 2nd. Okay. So yeah, that will be next week Sunday then. Next week Sunday. Okay, thank you for that. So next week Sunday, the US clocks will change. So it'll be back to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from next week. However, in the Caribbean will be at 4 p.m. I guess depending on which Caribbean country you are. But in the Eastern Caribbean, you will be at 4 p.m. Right? Okay. Well, we had a lot of interesting things happening last week. We'll dig in. But first, anybody here new? Anybody here new? Never been on this call before? We have this call every Sunday, free for anybody who wants to come and see what's happening. We have a look at and see what's coming on next week. Yeah, welcome. What's coming up in the week ahead in terms of the high impact news, right? So we have a look at that. So that prepares us for what currencies may be moving and what may not be moving, all right? Newish. Welcome. Welcome to everybody who is new. Okay. And of course, we do have a look at our mood swing tool. Okay. So for the people who are new, right? What I really want to get into your head and into your mind is that the markets are moved by what is happening fundamentally and what is happening sentimentally from a news perspective and, just like global news. Not only what's happening on the calendar, like the calendar that we will look at, but what is happening in the news as well, especially on gold, right? When we see the war that happened in Israel, when that started, the gold prices just started to rise, and they didn't look back since then. Okay. Let me just share the screen with you. All right. So let's share this for a minute. So let's go back out to like a daily time frame, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So the war started in 2003 in October, right here. Okay. Right on this day, right there, 2003, not there, sorry. 2003 in October, right here. October the 6th, I believe it was Friday, and I think the 7th is when, that was Saturday, October the 7th is when the war broke out. And look at that. When the war broke out in Israel, between Hamas and Israel, gold has not looked back. Look at that, right? To the moon. And you know, if you're not very conscious that, you know, gold is affected by those types of activities, you would generally miss the move, right? You'll generally miss that, right? It's always better to kind of get a feel and an understanding of what is happening fundamentally in the market so that you understand where things are being driven, right? So fundamentals is one thing, but then we need to find ourselves entries into the market. Like, okay, all right, so we have an idea that fundamentally gold would have been pushing up because of the war. All right, great. So what do we do? Do we just buy right away? Right? I guess it depends, right? But some folks are just looking at the market from a very short time frame, a short period of time, like probably within a day or just a few hours, like they just trade a session or something. And as such, we would need some tools to get us into the market at very precise pricing. And this is where the mood swing tool comes in, right? So just remember the hierarchy of trading. It's you got to understand what the sentiment that's driving the market first. We got to understand the fundamentals second. We've got to then apply our risk management to that, okay? And the next is our technical analysis, which is our entries into the market. The issue that a lot of retail traders have is that they forget about sentiment, they forget about fundamentals, they totally forget about risk management, and all they're doing is looking at technical analysis, trying to find direction in the market. So the thing that they should be looking at last is what they're looking at first, right? Don't put your faith in tools to get direction in the market, right? Direction in the market will always be given from your fundamentals and your sentiments. Tools are there just to help you with your entries. So that's, if it's one thing that I want you to take away from the session today, it's that, right? Your tools here are just to help you with your entries into the market. When we want to get direction, we want to know what is driving the market in one direction or the next, and that is usually via sentiment and fundamentals, okay? That is how this thing all works, right? So, for those of you who, you know, you're just starting off, you didn't get really a feel of what the, more folks coming in, let's let them in, right? You don't have an understanding fully just yet of how fundamentals affect the market and all that. We've given you a little bit of a scalping strategy that you can use with the mood swing tool version 3.4 that we've just released, and I'll go over that quickly. So for the people who are new, you get a feel of how we would use the scalping strategy. Now, one thing I want to say is that this mood swing tool works best when the market is trending in one direction or the next. When the market is moving sideways, then we'll have to approach things slightly differently. But we've got things built into the mood swing tool that will help us with trading sideways moving market. We haven't really got to that yet, but we will. Okay. So let's go down to a smaller time frame. Let's go down to like a 1 hour time frame, and I'll use this area here as an example. Now, note on our mood swing tool, right? We do have the green levels marked off, right? These are our mood swing levels. Right, so do you see this green here, right? And I can just clone this. Clone, all right, green here, you see it? That's a mood swing level, mood swing level, mood swing level, mood swing level, so forth, so forth, so forth, right? We had a strong trend to the upside, and you notice how the price it's come back, it tapped the mood swing level, and then it took off to the upside, come back, tap the mood swing level here to the upside. This one kind of came back, had a little bit of a drawdown there, but then it pushed up. Then here it's continued going up and so forth and so forth, right? So whenever you come to the chart and you see a mood swing level that's giving you green, okay, that's telling us the market is trending upwards. What is the famous saying when it comes to the trend, right? The trend is your friend until the end. So we should always just want to trade in line with the trend of the market. Now, a lot of people just always want to come to the market and try to find some reversals, right? I call it the harmonic scanner syndrome, where you come to the market and all of a sudden you're looking for a reversal. Why are you looking for a reversal, right? Just continue with the trend until it says otherwise. I always refer to the Newton law of motion. I think it's the first law. It says a body will continue in motion in one direction until an external force is applied to it, right? And the external force is the same thing in the Forex market or in the trading market. It will continue going in one direction until a external force is applied to it. And the external force in our situation is usually the news, the sentiment that has changed, okay? So for this example, we see our mood swing levels here showing green, 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 green. So what do we want to do? We actually want to just go to our settings here, go to style, and we just switch on the bulls, right? So if you switch on the bulls, this is on the 1 hour time frame, but I really want to go down to a smaller time frame, 15 minute, 5 minute, for example. If I go down to a smaller time frame, then we start 2 seconds. Okay. All right, there we go. Right? We start getting some entries, or it starts giving us where we should enter the market at, right? So where we see bulls here is just pretty much telling us, hey, should enter right there for the buy, push to the upside. We could actually set alerts here as well. So if we right click and hit set alert, if we go to our symbols, sorry, not symbols, go to condition. The condition is the mood swing level, and it is, in this case, bulls, okay? And we just say we want to do it once per bar, close, and create. So what will happen here is once you get the bulls, and this is on a 5 minute time frame, every 5 minutes, once the condition is met, you will get an alert, right? Every 5 minutes, you'll get an alert saying bulls, 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 until you switch it off, right? That's how that works. Depends on the time frame that you're on. So if you're on the 15-minute time frame, then every 15 minutes you will get an alert. That's if you set it to, if you set the condition to alert every bar close, right? Once the condition is met. And in this case, right, we jump in pretty much immediately, right? Stop loss below previous lows, and we're looking for, again, it's a scalping strategy. This is gold, by the way, though. So gold could give you easily 30 to 50 pips of scalping easily. I've got a testimonial even this week, or was it last week? Yeah, but earlier this week. And gold is giving me 50 to 100 pips scalping, and he's scalping on the 3 minute and 5 minutes. Let me see if I could, yes, you could combine bulls with longs as well. Yes, you could combine bulls with longs. It's okay to just have the bulls there. Somebody was just asking in the chat, can we combine bulls with the longs? Yes, you can if you want to. There's no issues there. So what he's talking about is in the settings, you could just put the longs on here as well. And what happens there when you put the bulls and the longs on? This only comes on after the price has crossed the mood swing level to the top. So the longs will only come on when the price would have crossed the mood swing level to the top. Now you notice here we have some bulls down below here, but the bulls didn't cross this mood swing level. It was still trading below a previous mood swing level. So that's why we didn't get the longs here. But when we get the bulls and the longs, this is like an additional confirmation. Okay, bulls and longs, right? We definitely trending up. Okay, so that if you want to put your longs on, by all means, right? So when you see the bulls and the longs, we're definitely trending to the upside. Okay, is that okay? For sure. Excellent, excellent. Right, so bulls longs, we're trending up. Bulls longs, we're trending up. Now, bulls longs, we're trending up. But then you see, we got a little bit of a reversal here, and then all of a sudden you see in just bulls, but no longs. It simply means that we have a new mood swing level that is, sorry, let me just, what's going on here? That is telling us the market is potentially changing directions from going long, right? And we see this happen here. The market actually started changing directions. And when we do start getting that change of direction, you might have gotten stopped out on this one, that's trading for you. But then we're starting to see the market change in conditions to, we see red mood swing level here. That red one is telling us that we should now switch from bulls long to bears and short. So if we go bears and short right there, right, on the mood swing level, then all of a sudden, right, you get your bears and short to actually start selling this market off. And that's what was happening on gold for the beginning of last week. So this was Tuesday, Wednesday, right? And we started to see the market started to sell off. But come Wednesday, Thursday, we started to get ranging. So when we're starting to range like this, then we have to switch things up to a different strategy, which is more to do with smart money concepts. It's built into the mood swing tool, but we haven't really touched on that yet, but we will do on a future date. So watch that space, right? So that's the scalping strategy there for you in a nutshell, right? For those of you who are interested in that. Now, so one of the important and key things that I always reiterate is we always have to really look and see what's happening fundamentally in our news calendars. Now, we generally look at two different calendars. One is investing.com. So if we come to investing, I'm going to send a link into the chat. Make sure you keep this investing.com, and also my FX book, right? Those calendars there are very important to us because it tells us when some news item is coming up. And remember, the news item is what is the force that could be applied to the market that could change the direction. So we need to be aware of that if we are traders, right? If we are traders, we need to be aware of that. We can't just look at a tool and say, all right, well, the tool says, right? But yeah, but the news is coming. Okay. So we've got to stand on the sidelines and wait for the news to happen. So let's go back to the last week and see what cracked in the news and how that affected things. So let's say, for example, we had some news on China. This was what, Monday? All right, so let's just reset the chart here for a minute. All right, let's go to the okay. Just refresh. Okay, there's nothing there. So Monday. 13th. Wow, okay, so everything was pretty much sideways. This was pretty much sideways market for the whole week, right? When it's sideways like that, it's very, very choppy. Sit out the week. If you have been listening to some of the videos that I've been posting in the group, it is Mr. Livermore. He was one of the greatest traders to have ever lived. But he's really talking and giving us the mindset that we need, right? Jess Livermore. You'll see me posting more of his videos in our private and exclusive groups. And it literally tells you that. I think the one that we posted this week was we're sitting and waiting for the right moment. You don't have to be in and out of the market all the time. Like everybody just wants to be in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. The in and out people are the ones that drain their account the fastest. Okay. So anyways, so China had positive news. The reason why we look at China is because what is happening in China affects the Australian and the New Zealand economies because they are so much interdependent. Okay. Next, we had Canadian, and we had some, it says better than expected here, but we have to be very careful. Let's see what's happened with the Canadian currency. Now, we do have our indexes here, okay? I did post this into the chat where you could go and get the index for the currencies to separate them out. So let's see what happened on Tuesday, where Canada had some positive news. And this was Tuesday of this week, the 21st, right? So when that happened, look at what happened. The Canadian increased, right? The strength of the Canadian pushed to the upside. Okay, so when you separate things out like this, then you could start pairing up a currency that is pushing to the upside against a currency that is falling. And you'll be able to get yourself a trading opportunity. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind. So let's say, for example, the CAD JPY. If we were trading the CAD JPY on Tuesday, right, when we had this news, the Japanese yen was falling, the Canadian was rising. What do you think the Canadian JPY would do? That's a question. So that we do have some interaction. That's a question. The Canadian was rising, the Japanese yen was falling. The Canadian JPY should be doing what? Rising or falling? We have one answer. Okay, somebody says rising, CAD JPY for the buy, rising. Okay, so if we go to CAD JPY, we could actually have a look and see what happened. CAD JPY. Okay, there you go, right? So from Tuesday, CAD JPY was rising, and then look at what happened here. Okay, and that's the beauty about having the news as well. When you have the news backing you up, so the price broke above our mood swing level here. So what do? If you decide, you know what, I want to scalp this thing, what do? All right, we go down to our 15-minute or 5-minute time frame. Right, this was on Tuesday after the news dropped. All right, we put on our bulls and our longs. I mean, the reality is that, all right, bulls and our longs, okay, hit okay, and there we go. These are all the opportunities that you got this week to buy the CAD JPY. One there, if you missed that, you could have had several opportunities on Tuesday to buy CAD JPY. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay? It could be as simple as that. Look at your fundamentals, see what's driving the market, come back to your chart, put your bulls on or your longs on or your shorts and bears on, and just set an alert, go about your business, wait until you get your alert, you set the trade. Now this works on your mobile phone as well. Okay, so you could set the alert on your mobile phone and you're in business, right? So even if you missed it on Tuesday, on Wednesday, you had an opportunity to get in. And, right, how many pips is that to the upside? Okay, so that is 80 pips from Wednesday into Thursday, right? Wednesday into Thursday, that's 80 pips right there on CAD JPY alone. Boom. Okay. And you know your trade, you know, once you start understanding the fundamentals, you're seeing the fundamentals, following the news, easy peasy. Right. All right. The next one was inflation for the pound, and that happened on Wednesday. Again, very important news that. Okay. So look, let's see what happened. Let's go to the pound. Right? On Wednesday, when that news dropped, what happened? It's Friday. Friday. Oh, sorry, a smaller time frame. Let's go to a bigger time frame. Let's switch this off for now. Okay. So this is Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All right. So Wednesday, this is when the news happened right here. So Wednesday, we had the inflation news. Boom. The pound had a bit of a drop. Now, of course, had a little bit of a pullback, right? But come Thursday, it just continued to fall because, well, it was negative, right? And this pullback right here is really to kind of catch people out who might be jumping into the market too soon. Okay, so if you miss that big drop, this is why if you miss that sharp move, just wait for it to come back. It generally always comes back. Not always, but most of the time, it will come back. And you see, it came right back to where it fell off from. And then, right, so if we go to, again, something like a, no, okay, this is a good one. Now, GBP was weak because of the negative news. We saw that JPY was weak. Okay. Is that a currency pair that you would want to trade? And what okay, and why is that? If you say no, what is the reason for that? What is the reason for that? Exactly. Both pairs are weak, so you don't want to pair up a weak currency against another weak, sorry, not both pairs, both currencies are weak. And if we pair them up, it's just going to be sideways movement. right? So we filter that out immediately. Again, once you're following the fundamentals, you could easily filter those things out. You don't have to be trying to trade GBP. Like, there are people who will just open up a chart, but they don't understand what is driving the movement, and they're trying to figure out, so why is that moving sideways? Well, we know why it's moving sideways. The GBP is weak, JPY is weak, it's going to move sideways. All right. Now, one of the currencies that was strong this week was actually the US, right? The US was rising this week, as we could see here. So one of the pairs that we could have traded was the GBP USD for the what? What we gonna do with GBP USD? Buy or sell? Yep, exactly that. We looking for sells, right? GBP. So if we pull that up, right? So again, this was Wednesday when the news happened. Look at that. Look at the beauty here. It actually tapped our mood swing level. Little drawdown, bam. Okay, tap the mood swing level. Little drawdown. That dropped for over 70 pips. Had the pullback, right? Now it pulled back to our fair price level. We haven't really spoken about fair price level that much just yet, but that is one thing that we should be considering soon. Pull back to our fair price level here, but again, it's just come back to take out the stop losses of those people who may have jumped in a bit late, all right? Take out the stop losses and then continue to the downside, right? Selling off. So this is why when the news happens, sometimes, especially high impact, let the market settle. Let the market settle down. And this was pretty much at the end of the New York session. After we had the big drop, New York session, we had a big pullback. And then at the end of the New York session, the market continued in the direction that the news had pretty much given us for the sell. Okay. And here, the market sold off for, again, another 70 pips over the past 2 days. Again, it depends on what you're going for. You don't necessarily have to catch everything, because I think there was further GBP news on Friday, so you probably wanted to be out of the market at the end of Thursday, right? So if you just traded from here till the end of Thursday, that would have given you, 60 pips. Right? Happy with that. Cool. We had the GBP news on Friday that caused this bit of a spike to the upside here and then a drop off afterwards. Okay. So it was just a little bit of a spike because there was positive news. So it spiked up. But then it just went back to where it was going, right? So, I mean, for the moment, on this GBP USD, I'm still pretty much biased for the sell-off, but from a technical standpoint, we have to consider these lows. So where price is at the moment, we have what, 40 pips there. Would I want to do anything with that? Probably not. Probably just leave it alone. Okay, for the moment. This was last week where or the week before. We're looking to sell, right? But in terms of scalping, you might be able to do a bit of a scalp. Again, I would wait for the market to settle, okay? And put your bears on, your shorts on, and you're good to go. Now, let's see what's coming up this week, right? There is a holiday in New Zealand, right? Tomorrow. So we could expect that to be very quiet. I mean, NZD USD probably was sideways as well. Looking at all those gold sideways, AUD USD sideways, NZD USD sideways. But things could start shaking up a bit with this housing data. okay? This housing data really gives an indication of how many loans have been given, mortgages, right? How much the bank has pumped into the economy to help homeowners buy a house. This is very significant. That is going to affect the US dollar. Therefore, it's going to affect gold as well. So pay attention. The other big thing next week is the interest rate decision. This is huge, right? This could really spark a trend change in a lot of those US pairs. Okay, so pay attention to that on Wednesday. Interest rate decision is there is a forecast that the interest rate is going to drop. We're in very interesting times right now, okay? So pay attention to that. If it drops at 4%, the market expects that. So maybe the move may not necessarily be as heavy, but if it's anything less than 4%, expect a big move, right? And expect a big move for an extended period as well. Okay, so keep that in mind. Wednesday, things gonna shake up on the US dollar. Come Thursday, the Japanese yen, gold could start dipping, yes, because the yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so we have two statements here. We have the government shutdown is limiting the US news. That is correct, because we haven't even had the non-farm payroll news yet, which usually happens on the first week of October. We haven't even had that yet because of the government shutdown. So, but I don't think the government shutdown will affect this federal interest rate decision. Okay. In terms of, so the next question was, do you see gold dipping further? Gold could potentially start dipping further because the war in Israel has cooled off, it has eased off a little bit. And now investors, I think, are less scared, if you want to put it that way, right? They may want to take a little bit more chances with their funds, so therefore they could pull it out of gold and try something else, right? Gold is just a safe haven when things ain't going right, like when there's COVID and when there's war and things like that. Park the money in gold. So that's why we saw gold pushing up like crazy. Potentially now, and I always use the word potentially, we could start seeing a pullback on gold. We will see, right? Look out at the interest rate decision as well, because that's going to be huge. That's going to shake things up for sure. And yeah, the Japanese yen, personally, I don't think the Japanese yen is going to change the interest rate. They're very, very conservative when it comes to their interest rate changing. GDP is another big one on the US, okay? We got to keep an eye on that. Because if it's negative, then, it could, yeah. It's expected that the GDP had fallen. If that be the case, that weakens the US, gold could push up a little bit, all right? So again, keep our eyes on Thursday. Friday, inflation rate for the euro. If you're trading the euro, actually, hold on. I missed that one. Thursday is interest rate for the euro. Okay. So interest rate decision for the euro. We have interest rate for US. We have interest rate for Japanese yen. We have interest rate for the euro. So all these currencies will give us some sort of trading opportunity this week. Okay. Japanese yen, US pairs, euro pairs. Those are the ones that we're looking at. Okay. Great. So we will keep abreast of this and we will post within the community, all right? And just make sure that you guys are up to speed with where we at in terms of what the results have been for this news and potentially some trade setups as well in the trade setups group. So we're gonna wrap it up there for the minute. I know there are a few people that's new on the call. If you want to get yourself going, just drop me a message and we will get you plugged in. get you started. Question here is, how do you isolate all the high impact news with, okay, so what you have to do is you've got to create an account. So make sure that you create an account in investing.com or create an account in MyFXBook. Then you go to your filters here and you choose which currency that you want to see. Sometimes, yeah, so just choose the currency that you want to see. I'm just looking at the 8 major currencies. And then you go down to importance and you just click on high impact right here with 3 stars and hit apply. And that's it, right? And then you'll be able to isolate it like that. Kind of similar situation on MyFXBook. All right, that's how you do it. But you have to create an account. Okay, so with that said, we're going to wrap it up there for the minute. And we will see you on the inside, right? Because the outside is a dangerous place. All right. Great to see you. And if you want to get started, drop me a line and we will get you on the inside. Bye for now, everyone.